Have you noticed that not every expensive product is actually worth the money? In fact, I would say that most items marketed as luxury are typically not worth it. However, there are some premium items that are absolutely worth the investment. So in today's video, I want to go over 7 of these items. The first item where you're going to notice a massive improvement from the standard cheap options is going to be a quality suit or sport jacket. Because if you would walk into most stores right now in your city, chances are pretty high that the suit jacket is going to be too short, it's going to be too slim, you're going to have a slim lapel, and most of the time the suit is just going to look flat. And that's because they're typically glued and they're not using the best materials. But if you're going to invest just a little bit more, it's going to be a major upgrade. There are basically 3 levels to this. The first level would be ready to wear, and this is where you really start to get some decent fabrics. You're going to get jackets that are typically long enough, you're going to get wider lapels and a better drape. So the jackets are going to mold around your body much nicer. Typical brands here would be, for example, Suit Supply, Natalino, Spear & Mackay or Pochetka. On the higher end of the ready-to-wear lines, this is going to be another major upgrade. This would be, for example, brands like The Anthology, J. Muser or Anglo-Italian. And at this price point, you're typically getting a full canvas construction and then also some details like a hand-stitched lapel buttonhole. And of course, there are even more expensive ready-to-wear options, but in my opinion, in that case, it's usually a better idea to go with made-to-measure. And this is the second tier. And made-to-measure typically starts at around $1,000. And you could go, for example, with online made-to-measure tailors like Proper Cloth or Colaro, or of course, your local made-to-measure tailor. Especially if you don't have the standard body type. Let's say you have a larger chest or you have a larger midsection. This is going to be a major upgrade again. Because with made to measure, the measurements are going to be much more accurate for your body type. And you also start to have customization options as well. And the last tier would be the bespoke tier. And this starts around $2,000 in some Asian countries, but in Europe and North America or Japan, this is going to be much more expensive, of course. And at this point, the garment is made specifically for you, so it's going to fit you much better than all of the other options. But no matter which level you actually go for in the end, you're going to see a massive improvement compared to the standard suit you get in most department stores. And if all of those are too expensive for you, you can also try your luck on the second-hand market. The next expensive product that's absolutely worth the money are well-made shoes. If you compare the standard shoe that you get in a mall, let's say for around $100 or $150, if you compare that one to a Goodyear welted shoe for around $250, the difference is night and day. The Goodyear welted shoe is going to last you much longer, and you can also resole them, which means that if you take care of them, you can enjoy them for many years to come. Typically the leather quality is better as well, and also the design is a lot nicer as well. You're going to get a lot of satisfaction from wearing them. And just like with suits, there are different levels to this. The first level would be entry-level Goodyear welted shoes, and this is typically between $200 and $300. This would be brands like Nearman, Berwick or Britland. Once you go to the next level, this is going to be around the $400 to $500 price range. This is where it gets really interesting. At this price point, you have brands like Camina, TLB Mallorca or Yearn. For example, the Oxfords here are by Yearn, and I think they look absolutely incredible. This is where you start to get details like closed channel stitching. You're going to get a much higher quality leather and construction, and overall the quality and designs are typically just a lot more interesting than the ones around $200. And then the next level would be between $700 and $1,000, and at this price point you typically get heritage brands like Alden, Crockett & Jones or George Cleverly. Whatever level you choose here is going to be a major improvement. And in my opinion, it's totally worth the money, especially considering how much time we spend on our feet. We spend almost a third of our lives sleeping, so one item that we should not go with the cheapest option available is going to be your mattress. This is one of the products where just investing a little bit more into getting a quality mattress is going to make a major difference. Not only for your back health, but also simply for the quality of your sleep. And that's going to transfer across all areas of your life. So you're going to be more alert at work, you're going to have more energy at the gym, and also with your family as well. You don't have to buy the most expensive mattress on the market, of course, but definitely don't only go by price. Go to your local mattress store, try a couple of them, and then pick the one that's perfect for you. As a student, I've slept on quite a few mattresses that were not that great, and once you upgrade to a decent mattress, you can really feel the difference. Most of us spend another third of our life at the desk, which is another item that's totally worth the upgrade. And in this case, I'm talking about the office chair and your desk. Because once you upgrade to a decent office chair, instead of sitting in just a regular chair, the difference is incredible. Because if you're going to spend 8 to 10 hours per day in front of your screen, ideally you want to do so in a pretty upright position. You want to have your forearm at a 90-degree angle, and if you just have a random desk and a random chair, you're typically going to be a bit slouched over. Your hands are going to be either too high up or too low, and this can lead to poor posture and issues in your wrists as well. For example, a couple of years ago, my brother and I, we had an online cooking school, and we had to edit a few hundred clips of cooking lessons. And I remember spending so much time editing 7 days a week that I started to get really bad wrist pain and neck pain as well. And that's when I looked into the subject and I purchased a proper office chair and a proper desk as well. And the wrist and neck pain pretty much went away immediately. And just like the other tips, you don't have to go with the most expensive office chair or desk that you can find, but you want to go with a decent level of quality. The next expensive product that's absolutely worth the money is a quality leather bag. This could be a briefcase if you work in a formal environment, it could be a messenger bag for more casual environments, or it could also be a leather weekender. And I think that almost every man, regardless of their style, can appreciate a well-made leather bag, or basically well-made leather goods of any kind. So whether that's a wallet or a belt, but the reason why I chose bags is that they are going to typically last you longer, and they're also going to bring you more enjoyment. Because if you choose a well-made bag like this, it can serve you well throughout your career, and you're going to enjoy it for many years to come. There are quite a few brands that offer quality leather goods, but one of my favorites would be Bleu de Chauffe from France. Because for the fact that they are handcrafted in France, made from high quality materials, I think the price is actually still reasonable, to be honest. It's definitely an investment, but it's also going to last you a long time. Other brands that produce fantastic leather bags would be, for example, Lotuf, Frank Clack or Bennett Winch. The next expensive product that's absolutely worth every penny is a well-made coat. And this could be a classic trench coat, for example, or it could also be a wool overcoat. And there are several reasons for this. You're going to get certain design details that are typically not available on cheaper coats. You're typically going to get a coat that's much longer, so it's going over your knees. You're going to get a much more interesting lapel, and you're going to get much higher quality materials and construction methods. I think particularly in winter, this is one of the best investments you can make, because a well-made coat can instantly elevate any of your outfits, even if you wear something as simple as a t-shirt and jeans. If you were to buy a quality overcoat new, you're typically looking at around $500 to $1,000. But luckily, this is one of the best items to buy on the second-hand market, because you can find a lot of beautiful overcoats for as little as $20. You might not agree with the next item, because from a technical standpoint, it doesn't really make sense to include it here. Because nowadays, with your smartphone, theoretically you don't really need a watch anymore. Your smartphone can be more accurate, and it also has a range of other functions. On top of that, unless you go to the very expensive range of watches, you're typically not going to get some amazing construction or materials. So why do I think they still deserve to be on the list? I think from an emotional or sentimental standpoint, there's almost no other item that's as valuable as a watch. Because throughout the day, every time you glance at your wrist, you're going to get a small sense of enjoyment and happiness. This is something that you get from almost no other item. And then there's the sentimental value. Many times, whenever we reach a certain milestone, so let's say you have a big advancement in your career, or you get married, somebody may gift a watch to you, or you gift a watch to yourself, or as it's very custom as well, you may have been handed down a watch from your grandfather or your father. And this is pretty exclusive to watches, which is why I think even though they are typically an expensive product, in terms of the enjoyment that you get from it, it's definitely worth the money. And I want to point out here that expensive is relative because it completely depends on your budget. Let's say, for example, your budget is $500 and you buy a Tissot PRX80. Well, you're probably going to enjoy the watch as much as if your budget were $2,000 and you bought a $2,000 watch. The only rule here is that you stay away from fashion watches. This would be brands like Calvin Klein, Armani, or Fossil. I made the mistake in the past of buying watches from these brands myself, and every single time I've regretted it. For example, I bought a watch by Fossil. It broke super quickly and it was so loud that even if I put it inside my desk drawer, I could still hear the watch. Gentlemen, those were 7 expensive items that are worth the money. Of course, this list is very subjective. Maybe you would have included perfume or denim as well, but whatever expensive items you think are worth the investment, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching and see you next week.